We are only 9 days into 2026, and yet everything is coming apart. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the biggest lie that you have been told about your reality and about planet Earth. I'm also going to remind you of the 4 things that the elites do in order to keep you trapped and enslaved. And then we're going to get into some really interesting stuff, which are these 3 bizarre truths about Earth and human beings that extraterrestrials showed me. So bear in mind, I'm not reading from a book. I'm not quoting from some prophet. I'm not telling you what was written in some religion. These are things that I didn't know. I didn't know that these were truths. I didn't know anything about this reality. The only thing that happened was in June of 2022, I heard about this thing where if you wanted to, you could reach out and communicate to extraterrestrials. And I went, extraterrestrials. All right, I'll bite. I'll try it. And I tried it and I was sincere. And to my absolute shock and amazement, I was successful. You can be successful in communicating with them. Also, I teach you how to do it on this channel. It's not a secret. All right, we'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and talk about the biggest lie that they are telling you. The biggest lie that they are telling you is going to be number 3 of the truths, which is the 13,000-year-old Atlantean elite conspiracy. I know I wouldn't have bought into any of this before 2022. I'm not one of these people. I'm not into this stuff. So this has completely blown my mind to find out that these things are not only true, they are far more bizarre than the mythology and the sci-fi movies have been portraying them to you. So before we get into the 3 truths here, let me just share with you the 4 things that the elites are doing to you to keep you enslaved and to keep you weak and to keep you trapped. The first thing that they do is they appeal to your sense of righteousness and they enrage you. So if you become enraged about anything that goes on politically, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, if you get enraged when you find out the truth about how horrible the elites are and the things that they are doing, if you become enraged, that's their first goal. Second goal is to frighten you. So once they enrage you, they then give you the impression that there's nothing you can do about it, and if you try and go outside of it, you are going to end up in big trouble. So they enrage you and then they frighten you. And then the next thing they try to do is confuse you. And these are what people call psyops, where you think you figured out what the opposition truth is. And so you pick a side, and the thing is, you might be onto some truths. You might be speaking about truth. But again, this is only to get you so that you're fighting with somebody, to get you confused. And then you can't figure out which is the truth and which is the lie, because the best way to lie is to tell you a combination of truth and lies. And that keeps shifting and changing. That creates cognitive dissonance, which is the most toxic form of confusion. And then the last thing, the 4th thing they want to do is they want to immobilize you so that you can't do anything. So they enrage you, they frighten you, they confuse you, they immobilize you. Now, let's get into the 3 truths. These are some of the most bizarre things. I mean, I could go on and on and on. These are 3 of the most bizarre things that I have learned as a result of communicating with higher dimensional extraterrestrials. The first one is that Earth is an upside down shadow world. So everything that goes on here on Earth is actually opposite of what goes on in true reality. So we are not in reality. You've heard that this is a matrix. You've heard that this is an illusion. You've heard that this is a dream. These are all words reaching at a truth. This is not reality. This is a shadow world. just like you can see in the background, you see shadows being cast. And when you look at a shadow, you might see the outline of something, but you can't really see all of it or what it is. And that's what goes on here. You think you're seeing something, you look at a three-dimensional person, you think you're seeing that whole being. You're not. You're only seeing a shadow of that being. And so everything is a shadow. Love. The love that we feel, no matter how intense, is merely a shadow of what love is really like outside of this world. This earth, we're going to talk about this, but this earth is actually an isolated experimental chamber. And so we don't get to connect to realms outside of this third dimensional reality unless we are doing some very powerful spiritual practices, and or right now everybody can do this, communicate with higher dimensional beings. And that's a whole other subject we can get into. Again, I teach you how to do that on this channel. Go to the live section on my channel. You will see the live guided interdimensional meditations. We do those live twice a week, and there are hundreds of them that are already uploaded. Just go to the live section and you can click on any of them and just simply follow along. You will have an experience. All right, so this world is a shadow world. It is an upside down world. Everything is backwards here. What you think is the norm is that other conscious beings are your enemy. Other conscious beings are predators. They want to take something from you. You have to compete with them. You have to go and destroy them to take their thing. They want to destroy you to take your thing. There's only one person that gets the prize. We're competing with each other. We don't trust each other. This is upside down of what really goes on. What really goes on outside of the third dimensional experimental chamber that we're in is that every being, every conscious being loves every other conscious being, is connected to every other conscious being, and feels every other conscious being's feelings. So one of the biggest lies, by the way, these lies are very understandable because we're projecting our experience onto higher dimensional realities. And of course, that's wrong. We're wrong, but we're not wrong that we have this experience. So when people say that there are evil beings of light that want to trap you and steal your energy from you and throw you into reincarnation, that is an actual experience that we have here in the third dimension. And the real archons, the real leaders, they do this. But they're doing it from within the third dimension. So we feel like it's coming from outside of us. We feel like it's coming from the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension. And so we're afraid of these spiritual beings that we think are out to get us. That is upside down. The beings that are outside of this dimension have nothing but love for us, and they feel for us. It's impossible for them to do any harm to you. And the reason why it's impossible is because they feel all of your feelings. If you pop up in their experience and they see you, they're going to see you, they're going to feel your spirit, they're going to immediately love you, they're going to immediately identify with you as a family member. And whatever feelings you have, they're going to know. And if they were to do something harmful to you, you would have a negative feeling, which they would immediately feel. It would be like, if you slap somebody in the face, you get slapped every time you do it. You're going to stop doing it pretty quick. So that's opposite from here. This is an upside down world. We go and slap somebody else in the face, we don't feel it. Because, it's the only place that psychopathy, sociopathy, lack of empathy exists is down here in the third dimension and below. So this world is an upside down, bizarro, shadow world. Second one is that all humans are extraterrestrial volunteers. This absolutely blew my mind. Now, the truth about this is that when this truth comes out, which it will, and everybody knows this, it will destroy religion. By the way, the word religion means to bind up. literally means to tie you in knots, make you immobile so that you can't move. That's what religion means. It means to tie you up, to bind you. So religion is going to absolutely be completely destroyed. And again, this is why the elites don't want you to know what I'm telling you, because one of the ways that they control you, that they enrage you, frighten you, confuse you, and immobilize you, is with religion. I was just, I had a brief discussion with somebody online. I must have said something about the meek shall inherit the earth, and how that's really a very destructive thing, that you should be meek. And this person responded and said, well, originally when this was wrote, the meek meant a powerful person who was just being very kind and loving. But the truth is that meek comes from a Greek word, which is used to take a powerful animal and to bend it to your will so that it becomes meek. So it's very powerful, but it chooses to be kind and loving to you. It has the power to completely run away from you, destroy you, be independent, but it chooses to submit itself to you. That has been subverted by religion into something good. Be a good trained animal. And again, people don't realize it. It's been so ingrained into us, we believe that this is spiritual, and it's not. And so this truth I'm going to share with you is that all humans are extraterrestrial volunteers. So right now, people want to talk about good ETs versus bad ETs. Again, that is a third dimensional projection. There are good humans and bad humans. And that is a real thing here. Out there, once you get beyond the Earth, third dimensional, isolated, experimental chamber, you are in a world where all conscious beings are connected to each other. They love each other. They work together. There aren't good and bad. There aren't fights. There aren't wars amongst ETs. Again, it's a projection. And people believe it because they experience it. To give you an example, when I've shared this before, that all higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings are loving and kind, people have said, no, that can't be true. There are some bad ones because there's good and bad humans. So there has to be good and bad ETs. That's only possible if extraterrestrials are third dimensional beings, and they're not. Third dimensional beings is only for humans in this third dimensional Earth experimental chamber. By the way, the experiment has come to an end, which is why everything is shifting. The experiment is being dismantled and deleted, and we're shifting up to a higher dimensional, higher frequency experiment. It might still be in the third dimension, but it'll be in a higher frequency, closer to higher dimensions. I don't know that for a fact. That's my suspicion. So what happened is, and this was something that absolutely blew my mind, when I was shown this. I was taken astrally to many different dimensions. I communicated with beings that were just pure beings of pillars of light of different colors. And they told me that I was one of them, that I used to be one of these pillars of light, and that we all got together. All of us higher dimensional pillars of light got together. You got together. We all got together, and we said, let's create a place where we can go and we can learn the depth of the soul consciousness. And we had to create a very challenging, difficult experiment, video game, to do that. That's what Earth is. And so what happened is that all of the extraterrestrial civilizations from all over the multiverse got together, and they sat down and had councils, and they said, hey, let's put this in the world. So you want to know why people talk about mantis beings and that the Earth is covered with many different species of mantis insects? It's because that was their, they thought, let's put some cool insects that look like us. Same thing with almost every animal you can think of. There's an extraterrestrial race out there that wanted to create an animal, plants, trees. I mean, look at the plants and animals in Australia, compare it to the rest of the world. There's no comparison. Yes, I could talk about how it was isolated and it evolved differently over time, but the truth is that represents an actual world somewhere where things look like that. And so they said, can we have our own little continent? We don't want to take up the whole thing. We'll make it like an island, big island continent. And so they created that. I believe those were the Andromedans. Don't hold me to that, but that's what I believe. So every single soul out there in higher dimensions, in every single civilization, wants to become a human, because the power that you can gain is off the charts. But only the most powerful get to come here. If you're here, it's because you are from an extraterrestrial race and you are among one of the most powerful that has ever existed, and you were given the privilege to come here and be human. And it doesn't matter how badly you screw up. This is the thing people don't understand. Again, religion will tell you, many religions will tell you that if an avatar comes down, he's going to be perfect and he's going to walk on water and he won't have any sins, and that's nonsense. The truth is that you are all avatars. And the thing is, you come here specifically to screw up. In fact, the really strong ones come here and they go, give me a body that's just so weak and frail and screwed up, and I want a body that has like addictions and crazy desires and anger and lots of emotions. Now, once you get here and you become that and you forget, you bemoan it, you cry. Why is things so difficult for me? But if you have a difficult life, it means, and I'm telling you the truth, you are one of the most spiritually advanced beings in the multiverse, because only the most advanced get to have the really difficult lives. So every single human being is an extraterrestrial volunteer. Now let's get into the biggest lie. The biggest lie is the lie that we just showed up here millions of years ago, and then for some reason, around 10,000 years ago, we just magically figured out how to create civilization. We magically figured out how to start, creating technology and the wheel, and but before that, we were all just a bunch of monkeys walking around, So for 1.5 million, 2 million years, we were just complete idiots until suddenly 10,000 years ago, we decided to figure things out. So the truth is that there have been civilizations on this planet, highly advanced civilizations. And the reason why we're in the state that we are in, I'm not telling you this because I read it or because I think it's a good idea, because I didn't. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I was shown this. And I was shown who I was. And if you find out who you were, I don't know, it might be as huge of a major blow to your mind as it was to me. I'm not going to get into my deal right now, but I am going to talk to you about the 13,000-year-old Atlantean elite conspiracy, which is still going on right now. The Archons. Archon is just a Latin word. It means rulers. People say, well, what about the Archons? And what they think Archon means is a being of light that is ruling over Earth. That's not what the word means. That's what some people in the past have created, but again, that's a spiritual projection. The Gnostic religion that people think is the best religion is actually a religion, I'm sorry to say this, it's a religion that was created out of a victim mentality. And what was going on is that the Romans were conquering all of the civilizations, the peoples, the religions, the shaman religions, even other religions. They were conquering all of them, and they were the Archons. It's a Latin word. It means ruler. Or I don't know if it's Latin or Greek. I can't remember which. It's a word that means ruler. And so what they did is they spiritualized it. This is what people do when they're traumatized. They spiritualize their trauma. So instead of looking at the people in front of them, the Romans walking around who were ruling over them, destroying their world, forcing them into their into their empire, forcing them to use their money, taking them as slaves. You have no idea how many people the Romans took enslaved, and took. They were traumatized, and so they spiritualized it, because you can't get mad at the person right in front of you, because he'll chop your head off. So instead you turn it into a religion, and you talk about beings of light who trap you. That's what was going on. But the real archons, who do everything that you have heard that archons do, those are humans. And those are humans who are descended from an Atlantean elite that violated their spiritual oaths. Because during the times of Atlantis, there was a one world civilization. Now, not everybody on Earth was part of that civilization. You could be your own, you could just be a tribe out on some, tropical island somewhere. Sounds great. Or you could be part of this higher civilization. It wasn't an empire that conquered people. It was an empire of consciousness. And there were varying levels of human incarnations. There were humans that were what we would call now, we would wrongly call them hybrids. They were actually a hybrid, dimensional hybrids. They were higher dimensional. They had a lot of power, spiritual power. They could do all kinds of crazy things. This is the legends that you hear about giants. Because one of the things that happens when a human being, whether you or me, if this were to happen to us, if we start to shift to a higher dimension, a third dimensional human looks at you and you look like you're 20 feet tall, 50 feet tall. This is where, I know, it sounds like I just dropped some acid. I didn't. This is what they showed me. And so there were varying levels of humans. Some had a lot of power, spiritual power, and some just wanted to be regular humans. And there were extraterrestrials. This was a hub. This was an interplanetary, interdimensional hub. And so beings from other civilizations and other dimensions would come. That's why when you read, all of the really ancient, legends, you hear about, gods walking around with humans, and you hear about wizards and beings, and it's because that really was going on. So, long story short, the Atlantean conspiracy, the Atlantean elite, what ended up happening is that there was a king, and he wanted to keep this higher dimensional frequency on planet Earth, and he wanted to help everybody on Earth. Now, he knew, he had been told by his advisors in other dimensions and other planets, said, hey, Earth has to go through a shift. It has to shift down. Your job is to give them spiritual practices so that when they're in the lowest part, they can go deep into meditation. And this king said no. He said, no, I am going to build technologies that use spirit power to keep everybody on a higher plane. We're not gonna go into this lower shift. And all of the other higher dimensional societies said, all right, if that's what you want to do, we're not going to stop you. But just know there's going to be some consequences. And this king said, forget it. I know what I'm doing. Now, he had a lot of followers. He had a lot of power, and he shared his vision. And he was, in the beginning, he was sincere. And a lot of sincere people came and said, yes, we wanted to be a part of this. A lot of humans who were shifting saw that this wasn't the way to go. This is what we now call the Lemurians. The Lemurians were a society. Again, I know it sounds so new age. I didn't believe in any of this. The Lemurians, the majority of them began to realize that they were going to shift to a higher frequency. And they saw that what the king was trying to do was actually a less effective version of what they were going to do. So they tried to talk him out of it, because they were, a lot of them were his family. And they said, don't do this. Come with us. We're going to shift. when the earth shift starts to go down, we're going to shift up. You can come with us. He said, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to protect these people, and I am going to make sure that they shift. And he was wrong. What ended up happening is the people around him, as the earth started to shift down, their minds started to shift down, their intentions, their vibrations started to shift down, and they started to realize that the spiritual technology which this king had allowed to be used in the pyramids and other megalithic sites, all kinds of stuff that right now is hidden underneath the pyramid, which is going to be released, I don't know how soon, but people will find out, all the secrets. They realized that they could use this to control populations. And they came to the king and they said, listen, let's use the technology that you have to control these people. We're doing it for their own good. We're shifting down. We have to control them. We have to. And this is where the Atlantean elite conspiracy began. Now, the king did not go along with them. He ended up getting in a war. He was assassinated. And this elite conspiracy of Atlanteans took what technology they could. The truth is that the king was smart and he was able to hide 90-something% of the technology from them. But that 10% that they knew about, they took it. Now, this is when the flood came. This was a result of the rest of the multiverse saying, listen, Earth is getting out of hand, because the Atlanteans began attacking higher dimensional extraterrestrials. After the shift came, after the king was assassinated, they began attacking the other ETs who were trying to help them. They've been at war with ETs for 13,000 years. So one of the lies I talked about last time is that all abductions are real, and you're being led to believe that extraterrestrials are coming and taking you hostage and experimenting on you and all kinds of other things. And that's actually not true. These are actually the descendants of these Atlanteans who are continuing to try and get back the technology that they had. And one of the ways that they're experimenting is by taking fake UFOs, which they have the ability to create flying saucers and all kinds of stuff like that. They're taking those and they are telling you that extraterrestrials are bad and evil. That's the lie that they said 13,000 years ago. And they're saying it again now. So this is what's going on. These are the Atlanteans. And they have a secret religion that they've held on to for 13,000 years, and they've passed it down. And they know that their time is up. That's how they know. That's how they've gotten a hold of the technologies you've heard people talk about, the looking glass. These things are old Atlantean technologies that they've dug up or rediscovered or found ways to recreate. And they saw that after 2012, they began to lose their power. That's why they're doing this last push. And again, 2026 has just started, but you have seen what's gone on. I can't believe it myself. That there's now wars are being launched out of nowhere for reasons that nobody can really explain. And this is just the beginning. This is the last push of the Atlantean elites. The last push of the Atlantean Archons. So, if you want to avoid being on the wrong side of this, it's very simple. We talked about it. You can shift your frequency, and one of the ways that you can do that is by intending the world that you want. And the most unbelievable, magical world that you can think of is the one that can be created. So the world that is going to be, there is a new world that is being created. I can't tell you when it's going to appear, in its full form. I don't know. I do know that it's coming, and I do know that it has started. The shift has started. But that world is going to be a world that king wanted to create, except this time it'll be done the right way. There won't be technology like that. It'll be used from within. The greatest technology you have is your own spirit. And it'll be a world where there won't be any archons, there won't be any rulers, there won't be any banks, there won't be money, there won't be armies. People will shift to a frequency where they can feel each other's feelings, they can feel each other's spirituality. We will shift to a frequency where, once again, Earth will become a central hub where extraterrestrials and higher dimensional beings will come and interact with us. And this time they will learn from the humans. They will learn from the beings who became humans and learned how, in that very dense third dimensional, as people call it, density, how to find their soul. Because that, for them, it's much easier. Again, it's an upside down world. For them, they're already connected to their soul. But it's easy. It wasn't easy for us. We had to work very hard. They're going to come and learn from us. And they're going to teach us. And things are going to go to a level beyond anything we can imagine. But your unconscious fantasies know what it really is. And so when you think about that, when you think about what it is you truly want, and think like a child, and think from love, and get rid of the fear, because fear says they're out to get me, they're going to do it to me, I have to be careful, I need this, I have to protect myself from that. In that world, you won't have to worry about any of that. There will be no being that will want to harm you. Those that do will be in a lower frequency. They won't be able to reach you. All right? I could go on and on and on, but I think I'm going to stop it there. Again, check out the new live guided interdimensional meditations that we do every Wednesday and Saturday evening live. Make sure that you click on the subscribe button and hit the notification button so you know when I go on. You can go to the live section right now and do any one of the hundreds of interdimensional meditations that we've done. The last one we did was a great one, so just go do the most recent one. If you want to gain real power, if you want to have access to higher dimensional frequencies, and you want the energy practices that will give you that, I have been training in those for the past 40 years. So if you go here to thunderwizard.com, click on memberships, scroll around and look for Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Get started with that. Then you can go to thunderwizard.com, click on shop, and look for Summoning the Immortals Qigong. Do that. That will connect you to a higher frequency. Now, if you're a spirit warrior and you want to go deep into this and you want to get real crazy power, again, prove me wrong. The way you prove me wrong is by doing it and finding out if I'm telling you the truth or not. If you want access to those, go here to maoshan.thunderwizard.com, scroll around. If you have any questions about any of the practices, put your question in the comments section. I read all of the comments and I respond to all of the respectful ones. And yeah, that's it. A lot more to come. If you want to have a reading from me, I will connect with higher dimensional beings and tell you what they tell me about you, about who you were in a past life. They do that a lot. Who you are in a higher dimension, they show me that a lot. And again, I'm nothing special. You can do exactly what I'm doing. And one of the ways to do that is to do the interdimensional meditations. If you want to have a personal session with me, a consult, put that desire in the comment section. I'll get back to you and I'll tell you how to do that. You can also find a lot of that stuff here in the memberships section of thunderwizard.com. Okay? All right, that's it. Thank you, my friends. I look forward to reading your comments. And this is only the beginning. Things are going to heat up very rapidly. I love you all. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.